You surprised me again, MacClay.
Want to stay alive? Stay with me.
We're back at the feet of Probe Entertainment. This is Die Hard Trilogy for the PlayStation, which also came out for the Saturn and the PC? Maybe? I think it came out for the PC, I can't remember now. I love this game. It's one of those games that doesn't... Because it's 3 games in one, it doesn't really capitalise on any one of them. But I think at the time it came out, which for the PlayStation version was 96, for Windows and Saturn slightly later, just early 97. That didn't matter, because in those 3 different games, you actually got quite a lot of variety for your money. And 3 kind of successful-ish games makes a pretty decent package. So this is Die Hard 1, essentially. So there's a game for each one. Bear with me while I remember what the buttons are. So there's 3 games in here. There's Die Hard is a third-person shooter in the old 90s sense of the word. Die Hard 2 is a light gun shooter. So it's first person, but it's kind of, you don't pick where you go. Essentially, it's just a rail shooter, a la Time Crisis or As the Dead or something like that. And then Die Hard with a Vengeance is a driving game, which is probably the most bizarre of the whole lot. Come on, there we go. So by today's standards, this looks pretty crude, and the controls are pretty difficult. But you have to remember, like, late '96, the PlayStation was still not in its throes of classic games. I'm trying to think of stuff that was out in '96. Tekken 2 out in '96? Maybe that was '97. But a lot of the things that we think back as the quintessential PlayStation games, like Crash Bandicoot had just come out in '96. We're talking that early. So this is really, kind of cutting edge for its time. And what I will say about it is that it's certainly an interesting thing. I think Die Hard 1, because it's minigame based, I wouldn't really define these as minigames, they are fully fledged things. There's a lot to them, but they were graphically quite fairly impressive at the time. It's very difficult to kind of come back to these 20 years later and say, oh, this game doesn't look very interesting. Oh, you Burke. The thing that dates this, there's lives and a massive score at the top of the screen. Now this would be seen as some kind of £8 downloadable game. At the time, it's just full price game like anything else. So I had my most experience with the Sega Saturn version, and that version, maybe we'll take a look at that at some point, because I tell you what, if you've got people complaining about oh god, I should have done that. People complaining about Xbox One ports of PS4 games, and they run at slightly lower frame rate and run at 720 instead of 900p, they should see Die Hard Trilogy for the Sega Saturn, because it's well, it was a feat that they got it running in the first place, but they had to cut a fair amount of graphical features to get that thing up and running. We're gonna get a new weapon. Yes, here we go. So there are, you can pick up new weapons. The weapons you pick up have limited ammo, so. Ooh. Oh, I kind of want that weapon. Okay, it's going to blink out of... Yeah, it has blinked out of existence. I love the techno in the background of this as well. The first level has great music. So, the objective... I haven't even explained the objective. The objective is clear all the enemies on the level, and then an explosive will come down in a lift. You have to get on the lift within the time limit. That's the level. And you repeat that several times. You try and rescue as many hostages as you can. By you walk into them to release them, and then try not to shoot them. Is the key? Ah, body armor. Nice. I was always terrible at pretty much all of the mini games. So I will say, I think this is the hardest. Maybe Die Hard with a Vengeance is the hardest. Die Hard 2 is certainly the easiest because I think most people are used to playing kind of light gun shooters, especially with a controller. A little bit easier. So I certainly made it to the end of Die Hard 2. I don't know that I ever got past level 3 or 4 of Die Hard 1. I think I probably used a cheat to get to, you know, the last level or something. I will have, because there's probably 20 odd levels or something. Whoa! 4 clones! Yeah, it's difficult for me as a kind of a predominantly a Sega player at the time. You compare what Die Hard Arcade was offering. Okay. So it shows you on the map where the bomb's going to be triggered. All you have to do is walk up to it, level over. Yeah, to compare this to Die Hard Arcade, which I know we didn't look at the Sega Saturn version specifically. I still think graphically was a cut above what Die Hard Trilogy was doing, especially on the Sega Saturn. And the controls don't help that. It's quite a cumbersome game to play, generally. As much as I enjoy it. It's quite difficult as well. The one thing I will say about Die Hard Trilogy before I forget is there's an amazing set of YouTube videos that I guess the devs were taking kind of home videos while they were making the game. There's some brilliant footage of kind of pre-release Die Hard Trilogy as they were developing it. This is a UK developed game. Go on out of here. Yeah, it's great footage. It's all on YouTube. If I remember rightly, I'll link it in the YouTube description. I found that kind of enlightening because after playing this game on and off for the last 20 years, to actually see development footage of it was quite interesting. See what the difference is between game development of now and game development of 20 years ago. Oh. Come on. It's the exit. Where you get shot. Oh jeez. Ah, what's in the crate? Is it a cool weapon? It's a cool weapon.
I've got a machine gun.
The John McClane impressionist for this. Maybe not the best. Yeah, it's interesting how they created the characters. I can't remember off, but it's been a little while since I watched it, but they explain the process of creating the character models, which is quite interesting. It actually explains why they look a little odd by today's standards. It's quite clever tech, actually, at the time. This translucency stuff's kind of cool as well. The ability to make because it makes confined spaces a lot easier to deal with when the edges go transparent when you go near them. It means the camera rarely becomes a problem, even in these kind of tight spaces. Oh, it was an enemy. I thought it was an innocent guy then.
That's better.
Yeah, it's something the Sega Saturn version couldn't really do. You know, Sega Saturn and transparencies is it's just one of those things that the hardware was never really built to achieve.
Best Christmas bonus I ever got.
Yep. It does feel rather rigid to try and play this now, moving left and right. It's kind of swirly, kind of. Actually, a little bit like Siphon Filter. Siphon Filter had the same issue, in that there's a momentum to the way that you turn in this game. So turning around to attack enemies is quite tricky. Should be using the minimap more as well. I realise now that it's telling me everything I need to know. Was that the hostage that just escaped up here? Was that her? Yeah. Whoa! Oh, I'm down to my last life. Not a good sign. One more hostage. There's no way to get a big map, is there? Oh, you can zoom out the map with the select button. That's handy. I saw a red dot over here somewhere.
Told you we'd make it.
Right. Let's get to the... oh, it's down in that corner.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Here we go. See if we can see the third level before I die, and we'll take a look at Die Hard 2 and Die Hard with a Vengeance. You can see how many floors the building's got, so you can guess how many levels there are. I couldn't possibly tell you what levels 5 through 15 are like. All I can say is that at the time I really enjoyed this, and even now I get a lot of pleasure out of playing this, not just nostalgia. I think that's kind of key.
Take this, Yankee.
Oh, you could reload your gun.
Great!
Take this, Yankee.
Oh no,
Ow, that hurt.
that's a big gun.
Happy trails.
Should there not be music?
Take this, Yankee.
I've never been so unimpressed by the PS3 emulation of PS1 games. I always thought it was way more accurate than it is, but... Why has this level got no music?
Take this, Yankee.
Ah! Well... That's game over. And it's going to play a little FMV clip for us. See, I consider this kind of time period to be Probe's kind of golden era. Stuff like Alien Trilogy and Die Hard Trilogy are really great games. And you get a score at the end. I did do well. You're not wrong. My name's AAA.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Perfect. Right, let's take a look at Die Hard 2. We want to talk about good music. Let's talk about Die Hard 2 in Die Hard Trilogy. This is the light gun shooter. When I said Time Crisis, what I should have said is Virtua Cop, because it's even got the little indicators around the enemies like Virtua Cop does. Oh, jeez. Reload R2. I remember the buttons. So this is a fairly simplistic light gun shooter. It was, so they did support light guns of the day, so you could use the Predator and the names of any of the light guns. Ooh. I do love the fact that the civilians don't really get out of the way. It's not quite as bad as the Virtua Cop where they would actually... Oh no, they pop out. There you go. So you can actually pick up weapon pickups. Oops. I meant to do that. Oh, come on. So it does give you the concept of being safe for a certain amount of time. I think it's an MP5. It's a little bit easy. So you can't reload the extra weapons, you just get a number of bullets.
Sorry, pal.
Oh god, I was killing bloody civilians. What's that watery noise? It sounds like a shower's running in the background. Actually, on PS1, this runs alright. I think I will actually dig out the Sega Saturn version just to show you what Die Hard 2 looks like on the Sega Saturn, because it runs at such a low frame rate. It's unbelievable. By today's standards, it's just completely unplayable. By those standards, it was, it was probably considered a little bit rough, but also people in the 90s were less sensitive to games not running at 30 frames a second. We still had games running at 20, for God's sake. Especially if you looked at like PC ports of that era, they routinely just wander between sort of 30 and 15 frames a second with very little consistency at all. Oh, explosive shotgun. There's some good weapon pickups in this as well. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 version is not completely immune from slowdown, but it generally keeps up. The Sega Saturn version doesn't. And even the environments are massively simplified. What the hell? Tracer bullets. Good, it reminds you to reload.
I must have been a good boy.
Secret route! You also have rockets, which I haven't been using yet, apart from the one I used by accident. Actually quite good for clearing large amounts of enemies. Yeah, the rockets. It's quite difficult to see if those are weapon pickups or parts of the scenery, to be honest. I like all the music in this game, actually. I think Die Hard 3 is my least favourite in terms of music, just because it's more kind of 90s... kind of sounds like 90s hip-hop, which is not really my sort of thing, but... this kind of menacing synth thing that's going on. I can get into that. I'm trying to remember how many levels there are to this. It's certainly not as long as Die Hard 1. It's probably 6 or 7, I want to say. But they're all standard kind of... It's an interesting pickup. It just reloads your weapon when you shoot it. Yeah, sort of standard light gun fare, sort of 10-minute levels. It's one of the things that's surprising is that this was never an arcade. Because how often did you get light gun shooters that weren't, born in the arcade and then ported home rather than designed specifically for the home? Also a genre of game that completely disappeared. Apart from that, there's a couple of years there where they were trying to figure out what Wii games to make, and they decided that everything should just be a guided experience. It's like the Kinect stuff. I bet VR stuff is going to be the same. It'll be guided experience, which is just it's a light gun shooter, isn't it, without the light gun. And now that all light gun games are essentially dead because you need a specific TV technology to be able to play them. You can't run a Predator into an LCD TV. It needs the CRT to actually be able to see the scan lines. I can't remember how they actually used to do it. I know the Nintendo Blaster was all about white blocks on the screen, so you could just hold it to a light bulb. But I think they got more complicated than that. That's it, and that's Die Hard 2. It looks a lot like that. You get this awesome everyone setting on fire animation at the end of the level. Oh, it's going to be the embarrassing bit. Oh, I did better than I thought.
SWAT team to the new terminal on the double.
So that's Die Hard 2. Let's have a quick look at Die Hard 3. This is Die Hard with a Vengeance, and this is the driving game. This is actually the one that they designed as the game. So when they originally designed this, it was just going to be this driving segment. This is what it was going to be. And I think Fox wanted it more closely linked to the movies, so you ended up with Die Hard 1 and 2. Which is ironic, because this is my least favourite part of the game. because I was so terrible at it. Let's have a quick go, see if I can actually make it through the first level. It's usually touch and go as to whether I can or not. I've gotten better over the years. I was supposed to turn left. I've already gone wrong. You can do L2R2 to do these kind of 90-degree turns. You've got a boost as well. I'll turn left here. So you've got a certain amount of time to get to an explosive and defuse it by crashing into it. Oh god. Nope, missed it. Try that again. Use a boost. There you go. So you crash into it, and then the explosive explodes. Oh god. That boost does not make the car difficult to drive. Use that turbo. Oh, come on. What's going on?
No, please, no!
Ah, thank god. Time pickup. Oh, that's going to help. This camera's not helping. There we go. Oh, I tried it there. In my defense, this is very difficult to drive in a 1996 driving game in 2016 with a D-pad. Ah! Come on! Oh, what's reverse? Is reverse not square? Come on! No, I should have gone left. Right. Shambolic. Absolutely shambolic. And then the entirety of New York. New York? Yeah, that's New York. It's a bad time. Let's try again. These Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis impersonations. Uncanny. Oh, boost again. Oh, why? My X button's not really working. I don't know what's going on. Oh, Jesus Christ. Come on. Around the corner. Oh, come on. No, missed it. Oh, you bastard. Got no boost left either. This is going to be good. Turbo. Come on. Oh, I need to turn right up there. No, I'm not going to make it, you're right. Oh. I'm going to stop using the L2R2 buttons because that's doing bad news. Oh, it's so difficult to control. I don't know what. I'm not sure this is the way it's supposed to control, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, I mean, I could sit here for another 3 hours and try and make that much better than that was, but
That is Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's really good once you get your head around it, but this controller is not happy. So that's Die Hard Trilogy. I still think a pretty exceptional game. It's well made. It's still fun to play. Die Hard 3 I still find really difficult. I've spoken to people who think that's their favorite. think that that's their favorite game. Who say that that's their favorite game of the three. I still think the first one is difficult to control, but I enjoy it more than the other three. And Die Hard 2 is a perfectly acceptable light gun shooter if you're into that sort of thing. It's very difficult to go back to now, but yeah, they did eventually make a sequel to this game. It wasn't the same developer. We'll take a look at that in a little bit, but Die Hard Trilogy, if you're going to get it, get the PlayStation version. Or possibly the PC version if that one turns out to be good.